Ladies and gentlemen, my name's Paul and I'm with...
Amata, as always. How have you been?
Alive.
No sickness this week, which is good.
No sickness. I've just been really busy with the PS4 Pro thing, and a whole bunch of other, real life stuff, plus RGT things, and also feeling the effects of cutting my calories a little bit.
When you say the PS4 Pro thing, you mean how you've been hard at work recording comparisons between the Pro and the vanilla, right?
Yes'm.
So our viewers can look forward to some tasty content in the next couple of weeks.
Yes, it is more delicious than cinnamon.
Cinnamon's not that delicious.
Well, I beg to differ.
I mean, it's nice. I like it on my chai latte, but
Okay, just for Amy, it is more delicious than your chai latte.
Okay, that's pretty delicious.
Okay, but yeah, so far the PS4 Pro loading times are pretty nice. Frame rate is definitely slightly more stable. The graphics on the games I've tried are not hugely different. And I'm gonna try a couple more, but
well,
they are.
Sorry,
the textures are different.
I was just gonna say we should clarify you're doing this on a 1080p monitor, yes?
Yeah, because basically I want to see if it's... Basically my whole thing is it worth a 1080p owner grabbing the PS4 Pro, because Sony are telling us yes. So I want to say yes or no, yay or nay from my point of view. Obviously there are some games which benefit more. For example, the new Final Fantasy benefits more because of the frame rate and stuff.
Yeah, I was going to say there are going to be some games where they're pushing the frame rate, like Final Fantasy and so on. So obviously there is that. Although that isn't out till a couple of days, I think. Is that on something?
8 days, 7 days, I think.
Okay, cool.
Actually, that reminds me, I need to order the damn thing.
Yeah, you should.
There are some games, because over the Christmas period, I've basically said that I'm going to start playing a few games, and one of them is going to be Final Fantasy, and also really want to get further on Dragon Age Inquisition.
Just so you know, I'm going to be kidnapping the vanilla PS4 to play Last Guardian over Christmas.
Assuming it's not delayed.
It's gone gold apparently, so no, it's not going to be delayed anymore.
It'll be delayed and there'll be a last minute patch they need to release.
I will literally cry if that happens.
And I shall bring a bowl and it shall collect your nummy tears.
Well, hopefully that doesn't happen, because this game was already taken far too long to make.
It should be called the last game released on the PS4 with how it keeps slipping.
Don't. It's supposed to be on the PS3 is how long this game has taken.
So aside from that, I haven't really had much time to play games. I have been playing a little bit more of Infamous Last Light, because obviously I've had to record it. Well, not obviously, but I've been recording it for the PS4 Pro thing. I'm actually really enjoying it. I might actually continue to play it, because I don't think it's that lengthy compared to the vanilla-based game.
Well, it's a expand-alone, yes?
You are 100% correct. Give yourself a cookie.
Oh, thanks.
Aside from that, just normal bits. How about you?
Yeah, I've been good. Just definitely looking forward to the Christmas break from my day job at the moment, as the lack of sleep and getting up when it's still dark out is definitely taking a toll on my psyche right now.
It is dark. Become frightened.
Yeah. But apart from that, I've been fine. Been doing a little bit of Christmas shopping, just getting some presents in while the Black Friday sales are on, just to save a bit of cash. So that's good. What I've been playing though is mostly just Dishonored 2, obviously. I'm just enjoying that a bit more.
How many cookies out of 10 would you give it?
It's pretty damn good. I mean, it is very similar to the first game. It is basically the first game, but more of it, but it's obviously been improved. More non-lethal options, as I said. Better dialogue between the NPCs. There's all sorts of improvements, and the gameplay is just really, really good, like the original. So
that's kind of cool.
Yeah, no, I think I'm sort of approaching the last couple of missions of the game, but obviously I'm gonna have to play it again as Corvo to see the difference after that, and see what's cracking there.
Interestingly, it's very off topic, but Klei actually have a publisher weekend thing going on Steam at the moment.
Oh yes, yes. Everyone check out Clay's games. They're all good.
Is it Clay? I thought it was Clay.
I've always said Clay, but I don't know.
Oh, well, it's one of them, basically. It's a pronunciation, which is Klei.
Yeah, either way, their games are on sale at the moment on Steam, and their games are really, really good.
I'm very tempted, actually, because they've got some Tomb Raider games that are on sale at the moment, and I'm highly tempted to purchase Tomb Raider The Anniversary.
Rise of the Tomb Raider is ridiculously cheap at the moment.
I know. You know, I was actually thinking, I think games now, unless you're desperate to buy them on release, if you just wait a couple of months, they comes down so quickly, it's ridiculous.
Yeah. It's crazy. Oh yeah. So no, I totally forgot that Clay published. Or did they help? They helped publish it or something. They had something to do with Darkest Dungeon, which means that Darkest Dungeon is reduced by 40%.
They had something to do with it.
Well, they didn't publish it because I know that was Red Hook, but regardless, they were involved in the development. I know that because they thanked them in the credits. But regardless, Darkest Dungeon is 40% off at the moment as part of the Clay sale. So go buy that game because it's really good.
Does it turn you on?
No.
No?
No.
Interesting. Actually, Green Man Gaming have just put their Black Friday on.
Cool. Far
Just
too much
Cause
money is going to
3.
be spent.
Just Cause 3, just for your FYI, is like $19. That sounded enthralled.
I mean, it's a good game, but it is just more of Just Cause 2, really. I don't know if
I liked Just Cause 1, but actually, was it 2 or 1 that I liked? But
you liked
wow.
2, but you really hated 3 for some reason.
Damn, actually Resident Evil 0 is like £7. We actually need to finish that reminds me.
Oh yes, we've also got Life is Strange, the complete pack for like £7.80, which is pretty good.
What did you think of Life is Strange? I've never played it.
It's really good, actually. I think it's not a Telltale game, but it's that style of game. But I think it's actually done better than the way Telltale does it, in my opinion.
They have Devil May Cry 1, DMC Devil May Cry 1 for £5, and Resident Evil 4 for $4.99.
I've already got Resi 4, so I'm good. Although that game's Slain, that got updated a while back, is £5.79.
Did you like that?
Now that it's been updated, yes. Beforehand, I wouldn't have recommended it. Now I would.
Beforehand, you wouldn't have touched it with a barge pole.
I don't know about that, but I wouldn't have recommended it.
No.
No.
Did it sadden you?
It was disappointing, yes.
Wow.
What?
Okay, that's actually a really good deal. The original Resident Evil Revelations. Well, that's just fucked up. Because on the... Okay, some of their prices are fucked. Because, for example, on their store page, if you go to greenmangaming/Black-Friday/deal-2, their price for Resident Evil Revelations 1 is $5.29. That's 78% off. And I was just about to say, Jesus, that's a really good deal. But then if you actually click through to the page itself, it's showing us like £19. So I'm like, okay,
it's probably
one
just
of them.
It's for the first chapter, probably. If I
no, because that's it. Oh no, I'm sorry. If you add it to your cart, it actually comes up as the correct price. So some of the games
their store. We should probably say that this isn't like sponsored or anything. We just kind of went on a bit of a tangent about deals.
Yeah, not that we ever go on tangents. That's actually our least favourite thing in the world.
But I just want to say that the reason I was laughing a little bit a second ago is that Battleborn is £12.57, and I'm just like, oh dear.
Still overpriced.
No, that game is just rip.
Well, it is when it's going to go free to play in about 5 minutes.
Yeah, it is. Ooh, super hot. It's like £10.29. Nice.
Anyway, we should probably stop spending people's money.
Yes, we should. I'm going to click off this page before I spend money myself.
Anywho.
Yes, we should probably get started because I haven't really played anything other than Dishonored and Overwatch now that Sombra's off, actually on the main game. So there we go.
Okay.
Right, let's talk a little bit about the Game Awards. Now, I don't want to go through all the nominees because we'll be here till Christmas, but I just want to talk about a couple of the categories.
As I hear you typing, is that possibility you're typing to see what those Game Awards categories are and their winners?
Well, they haven't announced the winners yet.
Okay.
It's like on the 2nd or the 3rd of December or something. Anyway, so
Ooh.
for Game of the Year, which is probably like the most
Yes.
prestigious award, is Doom, Inside, Overwatch, Titanfall 2 and Uncharted 4. And I just want to know which out of those you would personally vote for. Personally, I would vote for Doom out of those.
Doom.
Yeah. That's an easy one. Because like Inside is great, Overwatch is great, but Doom is...
It would go Doom, then Uncharted quite closely behind.
For me, it'd be Doom, then Overwatch, and then Inside, I would say.
What do you think of Inside? I've never played it as well.
It's really good. If you liked Limbo, you'll like Inside.
I actually quite liked Limbo.
Then
It was not exactly a happy game though.
well,
Was it? Let's just
neither
be
is
honest.
Inside. Let me just put it that way. I'm not going to spoil it for you, but if it's ever on sale, or even if it's not on sale, go get it because it's really good. So
Well, you've certainly made me want to pick it up.
what was
I
it?
need more depressing titles in my gaming career.
All right. So the other one I wanted to talk about is Best Studio,
Yes.
which is recognizing a game studio for outstanding creative vision and innovation. Apparently,
Well, it's got to be Ubisoft, hasn't it?
well, they're not even nominated. So we've got Blizzard.
It's rigged.
We got Blizzard. We've got
No.
DICE. We've got id Software. We have Naughty Dog, and we have Respawn.
If it was the old Blizzard back in the day, I would have chosen them hands down. Back in the days of like early Warcraft and early Starcraft and Diablo. Now, no. I
Thing
would
is,
say
like id Software, like yeah, Doom was amazing. Don't get me wrong, but let's not forget that before they brought out Doom, they weren't amazing. Let's not forget the train wreck that was Rage. That wasn't all that long ago.
I actually don't mind Rage. I think it was actually. I thought it was pretty good. It wasn't brilliant. Don't get me wrong. It was not even on the level of say Doom, but I think people were expecting a lot more than maybe they got, and I think that's why the game crashed. I don't think it was a bad game because I actually tried it out a while back, and I didn't think it was, oh my god, this is the best thing I've ever played in my life. But I did get a couple of hours of entertainment out of it.
Fair enough. I mean,
I'm probably going to piss
personally, out
people
of
off
those,
here.
I would say Blizzard, but it's a tough one.
What was the other options?
DICE, id, Naughty Dog, and Respawn.
For me, it would either be
I mean,
DICE.
vote for id if you want. I was just kind of bringing up the fact that Doom is kind of like their return to form.
For me, it would either be DICE, Naughty Dog, or id. The problem I've got with Doom is the story wasn't exactly new, and that's why I'm very hesitant to push them ahead on that particular.
The thing is, though, like, if you're playing Doom for the story, in my opinion, you're doing it wrong.
I actually really like Doom's story. I was listening to all of it.
No, I didn't skip any of the cutscenes or anything, but I didn't listen to any of those little audio logs that you picked up.
I did.
I was literally just there to shoot demons in the face.
I wanted to know everything.
Alright, and last category that I want to draw attention to, because there is like a ton of them, is Best RPG.
What are the options?
We've got Dark Souls 3, Deus Ex, Mankind Divided, The Witcher 3, the Blood and Wine expansion, Legion, and Xenoblade Chronicles X.
I've actually heard that was really good.
I've heard nothing but good things about Xenoblade.
What's that on?
It's the Wii U only, I'm afraid. So hopefully it comes to
right.
the Switch in some form. That would be nice.
Did you know there's a Wii U emulator?
No, but we probably shouldn't be talking about emulators.
Why?
What do
It's
you mean
completely
why?
illegal to talk
It's
about.
illegal.
No, the emulator's illegal. Emulator's illegal. Only the dicey thing is when you start talking about, hey, go to www.downloadpiratesoftwarehere because it's free.com. That would be illegal.
Before that's an actual website.
Possibly. And it's also illegal for me to give you or to distribute a BIOS for a console. But assuming that the emulator itself is created, then it's completely legal. So in other words, as long as you rip your own BIOS or dump it, if it requires a BIOS. To be fair, I don't actually know if CMU, which is the thing in question, I don't know if it requires a BIOS. I don't actually think it requires a BIOS to run. From my googling,
I have no idea.
So yeah, it's actually legal to own the emulator, but obviously don't, and I repeat, don't pirate games and then run them. That's my disclaimer. That would be illegal. So if you happen to own a Wii or Wii U, or you buy Xenoblade Chronicles X, then it's not illegal.
Fair enough. So, which one would you vote for?
Out of
Dark Souls 3, Deus Ex, the Blood and Wine expansion for Witcher 3, Legion, and Xenoblade Chronicles X.
Dark Souls 3. Purely because Blood and Wine, as much as it's awesome, it's just more of the same game. It's a continuation. Xenoblade, I can't comment because I've not played it.
Yep.
And I've not played... And I don't... It's going to probably annoy people, but I don't classify MMORPGs as RPGs in a strict sense.
I mean, it is an RPG, it's just a very different style of RPG, but to be fair, each of these RPGs listed are very different. None of them is really like the other. I mean, Deus Ex is not the same as The Witcher 3, even slightly.
I have heard very good things about the Deus Ex.
Yeah, it is on my list, I just haven't even had the time to even slightly think about playing it.
I've heard that the DLC practices for it and the microtransactions
yeah, there
were
is
shocking.
microtransactions in it, which is an issue, but it's just Square being Square at this point.
Yeah, basically.
I mean, I'm fully expecting there to be microtransaction in Kingdom Hearts 3, which is going to make me want to Dragon Punch them, but it's going to happen, most likely.
I'm actually, at this point, expecting microtransactions called the pause the action. So basically, if you want to pause, every time you pause, use a credit. And a bunch of 10 credits is like £5. I'm fully expecting that to be how things go in the future.
Let's not. Anyway, for me, I'd also vote for Dark Souls 3, which should come as a surprise to no one ever, given that I have not played most of this list.
No, that's the issue, isn't it? There's so many damn games that it's so
Yeah.
hard to actually keep up. And I actually think that in the day of... Yeah, I was saying that one problem of today is there are so many games, it's so hard to keep up. Like back when I was a kid even though I didn't have much money, because obviously I was a kid, I felt that I could relatively keep on top of all the big game releases. Now it's like good fucking luck to you.
Yeah, but I mean, it probably felt like that because, we weren't as aware of the amount of games that were coming out.
Oh, I was.
I mean, I was aware of the
bought all
games coming out when I was in, say, university, just for example, and in college, but I just didn't really play the games until they were in the pre-owned section of GameStation.
Oh, trust me, I was on top of it. When I was like 12, 14, I was on top of it. I used to buy all the magazines.
Fair enough.
All of them.
But, I mean...
Computer Video Games was the best one, CVG. It was amazing.
Rip
and Games
CVG.
Master as well. Games Master was pretty good back then as well.
The thing is, like, back then, was indie gaming as much as a thing? I don't think it was. It's really only been the last few years that indie gaming has really exploded.
No, but I'm talking about even
I
AAAs.
know, but
look,
you've got the AAAs, but then you've also got all these games that we might not have known about back then. I mean, they probably existed, but we didn't know that they existed, if that makes any sense.
It does, sort of.
Anyway, we should probably move on to another topic now. So, there's a bunch more stuff about Zen, as far as I recall. So, did you want to give us the TLDR on that?
Okay, so basically, there's so much stuff with Zen, it's probably going to be impossible for me to keep... to really concatenate it. But basically, the Too Long Didn't Read... There's loads of articles and videos over the past week or so do a search on the channel if you want. But basically, some sources over at Baidu and several other websites as well have given a load of leaks on Zen, and actually we got messaged a couple as well. Basically, all of the leaks are very similar to one another. Can you hear me? Okay, I just had beeping, which concerned me.
I'm here.
Okay. So basically, all the leaks are similar to one another, which does make me happy because it tells me that the leaks are probably quite What the hell was that?
What? I didn't hear anything.
I just heard random music on my thing.
It's not on my end, I'll tell you that much, sorry.
Fair enough. Anyway, must have been like an ad in the background. Anyway, so basically all the ads are... all the sources are basically telling us that the chips are going to be released in sometime January / maybe February, but it's looking like January. They're going to have the name SR3, SR5, and finally SR7. These denote the performance levels, so from low to high, in terms of the number of cores. And it looks like the high-end parts, which are going to be 8 cores, 16 threads, are going to cost about $300-ish US. And performance-wise, they're pretty much up there with the current Intel CPUs. So it basically tells me that these chips are going to be amazing if these rumours are accurate.
We're looking at early 2017, yes?
That's why I just said January.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't quite catch that. Yeah, that all sounds pretty good. I mean, a lot of people are excited to see what Zen has to offer because, obviously, from what I've been kind of gauging people's reactions about both Zen and Intel's upcoming offerings, and a lot of people seem a bit underwhelmed with the leaks and stuff about Cannon Lake and all the rest of it. So a lot of people,
KB in particular, is very disappointing.
KB Lake and Cannon Lake have been disappointing with all the leaks and the rumours and so on. Obviously the rumours and blah 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 blah, but the general feeling that I've been getting, and again this is purely from looking at our own comment section, is a lot of people are like, this is pants, hopefully Zen can be better. So if AMD get this right, they might actually be onto a winner here.
I think the problem with Intel is that with 4 core and 8 threads, to be honest, it's really boring. And I guess we could talk about Coffee Lake since we were going to anyway.
I was going to just kind of break it up with a bit of some other topics first, but we can skip to it now if you want. It's up to you.
Yeah, because I figure it makes sense. Given
Go talk about Coffee Lake.
So basically, as you know, Sky Lake is the prequel to KB. So basically they are similar architectures, there's just slight improvements, IPC improvements, so just a few tweaks here and there. So KB Lake, as you know, is being released early next year. Basically, Coffee Lake is going to bring the mainstream number of cores from 4 to 6 for Intel, but it's not going to see a release until 2018.
Okay. So that's probably the big upgrade that people are hoping for from KB Lake then.
Yeah, but the problem is, it's like, if Zen is like as fast as what we're hearing, the best option that Intel have is to beat AMD on a per core basis in terms of raw clock speed. I am hearing that Zen can clock to about 4.2 to 4.4 gigahertz on a standard AIO cooler, but obviously the problem is the reports go back to August, and they said back then that the voltage of the chip wasn't scaling well. So in other words, the default voltage I've heard is about 1.3. So let's say it takes 1.3 volts to get the default clock speed, right? Of like, let's just say it's 3.8 gigahertz. We don't know exactly, but let's just assume it's 3.8. It might take 1.4 volts to get you to like 4.2.
Right.
So, and then it might take you to 1.5 to get to like 5 gigahertz, and then obviously at that point you're going to need liquid
these are on like fairly early samples, surely, given they were in.
That's what I just said. I just said August.
Yeah, I was literally just about to say because they were in August. If you let me finish.
Yeah. Well, basically the fact that they are from August, they're going to be testing them in August, so those production samples will be from August. In other words, they'll be producing the silicon and then basically testing it pretty much as it's produced.
Yeah, no, I was just clarifying that this doesn't mean it's going to be an issue in the launch version.
No, but that's what they're saying. They are saying, the reports are saying that they are trying to improve the way that the voltage is scaling on the chip. So in future, 1.4 volts, for example, might get you to like 4.5 or 4.6 gigahertz. But there are some errors apparently at the moment still in the chip, and basically there are issues with the logic of the chip. So basically what happens is when it's performing calculations, if it's performing floating point math, sometimes the chip is coming to the wrong number. So what they're having to do is they're using a workaround in the BIOS at the moment, which is taking about 30% of the performance away, but obviously that's not going to be an issue in the retail
I remember
version of the
I
chip.
mentioned that in one of the videos I did on it, yeah.
So from what I understand, they're still working on this thing, and that's a bit weird because obviously it's getting quite close now. Having said all of that, Intel themselves had some major bugs with even the original Pentiums. There was some floating point bugs in there, and they actually released the chips with floating point bugs, by the way, and then they had to like fix it post-launch. But basically, I think as long as they can get the clock speeds fairly okay and a decent price, they're going to pretty much smash it. I think they're going to do really well.
As I said, that seems to be the feeling that a lot of people are disappointed, and the Zen results are looking promising, although there are issues to iron out, as you've been saying for the last couple of minutes.
My only concern with Zen is like there's a couple of issues. One, I don't like the fact supposedly the BIOS is actually stored directly on the chip, which I don't necessarily like. The second issue is I'm hearing that all overclocking is done via Windows only and not via the BIOS. In other words, when you go to post and then you go into like the BIOS menu, supposedly it's all done within Windows, and I'm not 100% sure I like that. But I guess we're just going to have to see if it's really like that for final production, chips.
I mean, why would that be an issue?
Well, it may not be, but it depends. Like, for example, one issue could be if you've got like a Windows install and it happens to fuck up a little bit as you're, like, let's say for example you happen to apply a clock setting that will start at default, so start on Windows startup, and then the chip just can't quite keep that clock speed or whatever, and then your Windows install crashes in a bad way, it might keep those clocks and you won't be able to boot into Windows, and therefore you'll have to do a recovery or whatever. So it's not like a massive, oh my god, this is like the end of the universe.
No, I can see
it's more... The other thing I like about BIOS is it's just easier just to sometimes just drop in, especially if you're trying to do suicide benches. So basically, I think some people who are trying to do suicide screenshots might be a bit pissed. For those who don't know, suicide screening is basically you'll run a clock speed that's way higher than what the chip can really handle. So for example, let's say the clock speed of the chip normally might be 4 gigahertz and you get it to like 6, but in reality it's about as stable as a one-legged man in an arse-kicking contest. But all you want to do is just boot into Windows and take a screenshot of it saying 6 gigahertz, but it will fall over the moment you put any load on at all. So I think some people who are just aiming for like the highest clocks, they might be a bit disappointed with that, but it's, that most people aren't. It's not going to affect like the average overclocker. But we'll have to wait and see, because it still might be that AMD decide to give us overclocking in the BIOS, or it might be that the motherboard vendors decide to, especially with the X370 chips. We just don't know yet.
Yeah, I mean, maybe this is just a theory, obviously, on my part, but maybe they've gotten rid of this for now because they have to do this BIOS workaround. Maybe those two things don't play well together at the moment.
Maybe, but I don't think so, because it's only going to be logic orientated. It's basically probably doing like a checksum, so it's probably just literally checking the sum of the float, or probably doing some other logic fix. So I don't think it's going to be that. My feeling is that they're doing it probably for overclocking, and trying to make it a bit friendlier. Supposedly there's going to be black editions of the Zen, and those black editions are going to come with higher clocks as default, but also they're going to be cherry-picked samples, so you're going to be able to squeeze more speed out of them anyway.
Okay. So we also have a bunch of stuff about the Switch, as of course we're not going to hear.
Okay.
Again, this is all rumours and such, because Nintendo are not talking about the console until January.
That doesn't sound like
well,
them at all.
they said this and they've held true to it. So, anyway, it's about what games we might be getting at launch. Basically, we've got a bit of a combo here now. Basically, the first thing is that everyone kind of assumed that Zelda Breath of the Wild would be a Switch launch game because, well, up until now it had a March release window, same as the Switch. So everyone was like, oh, okay, it's going to be a launch game, that will be really good. And now the rumour is that Breath of the Wild is not going to be a launch title and is more likely going to be summer of next year, simply because they are just now in localization.
Damn.
And given how long localization takes, you can see the issue of getting it out for a March release date. Now again, this is all rumour, so do take it as such, but it's not exactly good given that these rumours are coming from sources that have actually been pretty on the money when it comes to everything Switch. So I lend a bit more credence to these rumours than I would normally, to be honest.
To be honest, I'm kind of 50-50 on this because here's the thing. A bad game is forever going to be bad, whereas a good game can be delayed. You know, it's just a bastardization of the famous quote, as we all know. The thing is, though, like,
the more I say that quote, and more people bring it up, the less I like it, because there's just a counter-argument to that, and its name is No Man's Sky.
Yeah, but that could have done with way longer.
Yeah, but it was already... The point is, it was delayed multiple times, and it was still fucking shit house.
Yeah, but that's my point. It needed to be delayed at least another 3 to 4 weeks. Sorry, 3 to 4 months, rather.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying it would be fixed and they'd been able to done everything it was supposed to have done, but at least with 3 to 4 months extra, they could have at least fixed the game for launch a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I've always been of the mind that I would rather they delay the game and it be better on launch than they rush it out and they have to spend ages patching it anyway. I would rather just get a better product on launch. So, you know, no criticism, I'm just saying, like, it would be a pretty big blow to the Switch for this not to be a launch title, so I don't think they're going to do this unless they absolutely have to. And obviously, if it's true that they're only now in localization, or a week ago when I made this video in localization, it's probably likely that's the case, that they don't really have much choice.
I think it all depends what they have on launch. I mean, I think the problem is, like, if I was to say to you what you expect on launch for a Nintendo console, you would tell me Mario, you would tell me like a Zelda, you would tell me something like, for example,
you would expect solid first-party titles and hopefully some third-party as well.
I mean, what did the Wii U launch with? Wii U launch. I mean, obviously one of the famous ones was Zombie U.
Yeah. But there are actually rumours about what we will be getting at launch as well, while you're looking that up.
Okay, I've got it. So basically, even the Wii U had New Super Mario Bros. U.
Is that it?
So, well, no, it had a load of other games. I'm just talking about the big Nintendo games.
Right.
You know, it had, you know, games like Sports, FIFA, Skylanders, Tekken, blah 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 blah. But one of the big ones, of course, was New Super Mario Bros.
But, I mean, the reason I say this would be a big blow is because this game has been hyped for ages. People have been waiting for it for ages. Obviously, there wasn't a mainline Zelda game on the Wii U, so it's been a while, and it would be a pretty big selling point. And Nintendo kind of need that, given how badly the Wii U did in the long run. Having a strong launch is obviously important. So, while it's not, you know, rip the Switch or anything, that would be a bit silly and hyperbolic to say, it is a concern, definitely. But, as I said, there are rumours about what we will be getting, and they include that new 3D Mario game that we saw in the Switch trailer. Apparently that's going to be a launch game, although we don't even know what it's called yet, but still, that's not really relevant one way or the other. Also, there's apparently going to be a sort of bundle that includes Splatoon with the Switch, so that Splatoon is going to be a launch game for the Wii U. Sorry, not the Wii U, sorry, the Switch, which, given how popular it was on the Wii U, that's a good thing. And also Skyrim Special Edition as well. Now, if all of those are true, that's not bad. That's not bad at all.
No, it's not too bad.
I mean, obviously, it can have some other stuff as well, that would be great, but those games are not a bad start.
Yeah, it's not shabby. I think the one that's really going to sell it, of course, is the Mario.
Yeah, it depends though, because even like Nintendo fans and Mario fans are saying how tired Mario is of late, so it obviously does depend, but it did look interesting in the trailer, so we'll see.
The one I would really have liked is a decent Metroid game.
Yeah, like that Federation Force, horrid thing of a game. Just honestly, from what I've heard of it, just seems to be made to piss people off. There seems to be no other reason for its existence.
I know, I was so surprised they actually even released that.
I don't understand their logic. It's like, hey, you want a new Metroid game, guys? Well, fuck you. That basically seems to be all that game is, from what I've heard.
They're probably going to do very much like they did... who was it? Panasonic? Was it the... Was it the Panasonic? The Zelda game that was famous. Was it the the FMV Mario game that was back in the day?
Oh, I don't know.
Can't remember what system it was.
I mean, the ones where Link was voiced was on the Sega CD, I think.
No, not even it was on the Sega CD.
It was on one of those ones. I can't remember what it's called now.
Yeah, it was. I think it might have been on the 3DO Zelda. No, it wasn't.
No, I can't remember. It was. I don't know. It wasn't on the Sega CD. But
CDI. That's the console.
That's why I said. Obviously, it wasn't on Sega, but I knew it was a CD something, and I can't remember quite what it was called.
Yeah, it was pretty awful. There were two of them. There's Link, the Faces of Evil, and Zelda: The Wand of Gamelon, and Zelda's Adventure. And they were terrible.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I only know they exist because I used to be pretty into the Angry Video Game Nerd, and he did an episode on the CDI, and I was like, oh, good lord.
Have you actually seen what the artistry? Oh my god!
Oh, the voice they gave Link, I was just like, Bill.
It's terrible. Just go to Google Images and just if you want a lol, just type in CDI space Zelda. And actually, Nintendo refused to admit that this even exists anymore.
Yeah,
it's
the
awful.
art is a bit suspect, shall we say?
A bit, Jesus Christ!
I mean, okay,
it's terrible.
Can I direct your attention, right? If you go to Google CDI Zelda, as you said, look at the second image, and just
the one where he's laughing.
Just look at it.
What, the one with the
guy he's holding,
cup?
Who I assume is Zelda. And she looks really drunk, and he's like laughing with a goblet in his hand, and I'm just like, that image is just so wrong on multiple layers. I can't.
It's the one to the right of it that does it for me. The two right ones, the one with Link laughing, and the one where he just looks like he's. I don't even know. He looks like he's like just high on every single. Oh no, actually, I think it's the one below that. This one is awful sauce.
Which one?
Facebook message to it.
Okay, hold on.
Like, what is going on with his face?
Should have just sent me the link on Discord, but never mind. I don't know. That's awful.
That is terrible. I actually think that's supposed to be the king.
I mean, I guess so.
Oh, anyway, we're wasting a lot of time here.
Yeah, sorry. So, I think it would be bad if Zelda doesn't come out for the Switch at launch, but it won't be the end of the world.
Probably not, no. But it wouldn't be ideal.
Speaking of the Switch, there is a rumour, very quickly, that Pokemon Sun and Moon is going to be getting a Switch version with its own higher resolution textures and stuff. So, if that is the case, that would actually be pretty big news, because it would actually be the first mainline Pokemon game on a console. Before everyone says, oh, but what about Pokemon Stadium and what about Pokemon Colosseum, those games are not mainline. I'm talking about mainline Pokemon games like Pokemon Red, Pokemon Yellow, Pokemon Sun and Moon. That's a mainline game. So if that comes out on a console, actual home console, that would actually be huge. So hopefully that's true, because that would be awesome. But just a rumour at this stage, unfortunately.
Pretty much.
We've also got some pretty lols-worthy stuff about the Game Awards about Hideo Kojima.
Go on then, I'll let you take it away.
Well, I'm sure you remember last year, Metal Gear Solid 5 won, I think it was like the Best Action Adventure Game Award or something like that. And Kojima was supposed to go on stage and accept the award for the game that he made alongside his team, obviously. And Kiefer Sutherland had to accept it because Konami blocked Kojima from accepting the award for the game that he made, because fuck you. And you may recall the speech from Jeff Keighley at the time, where he actually brought attention to it at the award ceremony live, that Konami were being dicks. And this was all like part of that whole thing that was going on between Kojima and Konami last year, when he still wasn't free of their clutches and all this other stuff. And
did he actually speak about what actually happened?
No, I'm pretty convinced he's under some sort of NDA or something where he can't talk about it, or he'll get sued. I'm pretty convinced he is. Because if it were me and I wasn't under that sort of contract, the second I was free, I'd be like, this is what went down. This is how they fucked me over. This is what happened. But obviously he hasn't. But whether or not he's under contract...
Aside from that, or he's the patience of a saint.
So basically what's happening this year is that he's getting the Industry Icon Award at the Game Awards. So he finally gets to go on stage at the Game Awards to accept the award that he deserves, and Konami can't stop him this time.
Do you know what would be quite funny if he actually is waiting to tell them at the awards what happened?
I said in my video that I don't think this will happen, because I think Kojima's too polite. He's, typical Japanese businessman. He won't bring it up, especially live on stage. He won't. I'm pretty convinced he won't, but it's my dream. It's my dream for him to get up on that stage and just lay the smackdown on Konami. That would make me so happy.
I think it would be for everyone.
That would make me so happy.
Would it give you happiness?
It would. It really, really would. I don't expect it to happen, but I live in hope, Kojima. Make my dreams real. Oh dear. Anyway, we also have some stuff about the 490, which apparently is a thing that exists, or maybe exists.
Yeah, this is one of the weirdest sagas in graphics cards.
There's a saga in graphics cards.
Yeah, this is one of them. So, you know how at the moment Polaris basically comprises of the 460, the RX 460, RX 470, and the RX 480. Yes. And there's a reason I keep stressing RX as well. So basically, the highest end SKU, or highest end basically chip in the Polaris lineup is Polaris 10. That entire chip is used for the 480. In other words, there's nothing physically more on that chip that can be enabled or tweaked to make a higher end card, right? However, there have been 3 now images, or 3 leaks, if you will, which tell us that a 490 is actually available. One of them comes from CCP Games, who are the developers behind Eve Valkyrie. They accidentally released on their Steam store page that for the recommended graphics cards it requires either a GTX 980 Ti, a GTX 1080, or an AMD 490. Now that's the latest of them. However, back earlier this year, a couple of months ago, Sapphire, who are of course one of the big vendors of AMD when it comes to producing their cards, had on their global ticket support system that there was going to be an AMD 490 8GB graphics card, and it was actually a list of the product, and then they removed it quite snappily. And AMD themselves have a couple of times said, yeah, we're thinking about making it, but there's been no, anything else. And another image that was released from AMD themselves said, devising structure and how we brand the desktop. Now, this image shows Radeon RX, and then basically they clarify it to be a card which is 1.5 teraflops or above, and offer 100 gigabytes per second or more of memory bandwidth. That's what RX stands for, basically.
Okay.
Then you've got 4, which stands for the generation. The tier is represented by the 8 or the 7 or whatever, and then the revision, which is the 0,
Okay.
right? However, there is an image under that, or a slide under that, which shows Radeon 4XX, which is the Radeon generation, tier, and revision. And the thing that's interesting about this is that the revision is not used currently, it's only a 0. However, previously AMD have had a 5, where to signify the second revision of a card, like the 285 was basically supposed to be the 280 replacement. Now, here's where it gets really weird. That means there's 3 options. Option 1, it's a fuck up from everyone involved, and it was not really supposed to happen. Option 2, it's Polaris, in which case the only option is it's a dual graphics card, but that doesn't make sense for one reason. The fact it says it's an 8GB card, because if you have 8GB on a card, if it says it's got 8 gigs, that's the total available memory on the card. Because dual graphics cards need 2 frame buffers, each for each separate graphics core, because the data is mirrored, that also doesn't make sense.
Right.
Because otherwise you would only have 4 gigabytes per GPU core. So the third option is it's either a completely different version of Polaris, which is super secret and doesn't, hasn't been leaked yet, or it's a Vega derivative. And if it's Vega, that means that it's going to be a Vega 11 card, or possibly slipping into Vega 10, which means it's really suspect it says it's a 4, because that means it's a generation. So I'm wondering if it says 490 simply because it's a placeholder name, and the real name is going to be the 590 or the 580, and the only reason they're using the 5 is because the 4 is because it's an internal name, but we just don't know, basically. All we know is that they're working on something.
Okay, well, given that, let's assume for a second that this card is real. Okay, it's probably going to come out next year. Yes.
Yes.
So, in your opinion, what makes more sense, for it to be a Polaris card or for it to be a Vega card? Given that we know Vega is coming out next year at some point.
My personal opinion is it's either a dual graphics card and they're fucked up with the amount of memory, but that's unlikely because we've got 2 sources here which say it's 8 gigabytes. Or the second option is that it's possible it's a dual card, which was the early rumours, or it's it's Vega. Personally, I think at this point, considering Vega is supposedly going to be released in the first or second quarter of 17, I think it's going to be Vega. But I've been wrong before, and I'll probably be wrong again. Or it might not exist. I wouldn't be surprised, honestly, if what happened is it's possible, because this actually happened with another card back in the day. I think it was the 280X or something like that, or the 380X, or one of the cards anyway. But basically, what happened is that AMD were producing it, but yeah, it was a 285X, that was the card. And basically, AMD were producing it, and now a couple of the cards have appeared into the wild as leaks, but they're not officially produced. They're basically engineering samples. So I wouldn't be surprised if basically the card was being developed, but then AMD cancelled it simply because they're so close to Vega. So that's another possibility. So in other words, they shipped it out to a few people, including CCP Games or whomever else, to test it, especially because obviously Valkyrie is kind of big on virtual reality. But then they said, actually, guys, we're not going to do this because it doesn't make sense because Vega's coming out. So let's forget the dual card or whatever they were doing. Instead, let's just go for X.
I mean,
I don't know.
It's possible that it's just part of the Vega line, and then it was a internal name, or perhaps even just like a typo. 4 and 5 are right next to each other. Let's remember that. And then it is just going to be like the lower end, I guess, of Vega, if it's going to be an answer to the 1080. Or maybe the mid-range. I don't know. It's hard to say. It could be a multitude of options, as you yourself have pointed out.
Yeah, it's a pretty weird situation, to be honest.
Yeah.
So I'm not really sure. It's one of those things where there's so many variables for this option. All we know is that there is a card, and it is going to at least be as powerful as the 1080.
Well, unless there's anything else we want to discuss, I think we should call it, given that we almost got to an hour again.
I'm pretty good.
Yeah, I think we've discussed everything we need to discuss, so any questions for us, guys, do remember to hit us up in the comments or at contact@redgamingtech.com or on the usual places on social media. Thank you very much for listening. We'll see you next week.
Pretty
Bye.
much.